Very good.
Very
All right,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, let's make sure
Okay,
that
we're broadcasting
We're
now.
actually live.
We're live now.
Wait, now we are.
Now we are.
No, we're live.
Now we are.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 58th episode of Dad's and Ed. I want to say hi to Lance there in the background for those of you that are watching. Former guest of the show, Lance Lennon. Shout out to him for getting us this little setup. You would be amazed at some of the debauchery that just happened while we were trying to figure out how these things work as we move the microphone out of Brett's face.
Yeah, there I am.
If you're watching us live, you can see we are at ITEC. People are at sessions not listening to us, so that's fine. They'll listen to us later.
They will. On their drive home.
We do have 3 people in the audience. Oh, there's Lance, who doesn't count. Hello, hello, and hello. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
So not only is this our first live show in front of a live audience, this is the first time we've actually done this together.
That's true.
Good point.
Yeah, I've never done
If you've ever seen how convoluted we are when we're not in the same spot, we have no idea how this is going to go. So anyway, my name is Josh Allen, Tech Integrationist for Little Central Community Schools. 4 wonderful kids, 1 beautiful wife. Pleased to be joined. Hold on just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaylin Farnsworth, former guest of the show, is here. Shaylin, nice to see you.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were up there when I was coming up the elevator.
Well,
really?
we were. Shaylin yelled at us that she was coming up the elevator behind, so it's all good. All right, please, we'll actually go into live now.
We will do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
why not?
I'll do that. Devin Schilding, what do I do? What do I do?
We don't know.
I do something
It's always
in Council
something
schools. Wonderful family at home. Everybody's working and in school, and they're really happy about me being gone. I want a big shout out today. Today is my wife's birthday.
Wow.
Ooh, happy
So she was
birthday.
really thrilled about me being out of town for the entire weekend of the birthday. So happy birthday, Aaron! That should get some points for that. This is
That
a
makes up for it.
This is a podcast that's going to at least ones of people.
Ones of people.
My 2 children, Claire and Grace, in 5th and 7th grade. So they're all back home, and I'm sure listening. I think they're broadcasting this live at school.
Yeah, school assembly for Dads and Ed.
Yep.
I miss Claire's introduction. It's usually a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Frank Allen here from the Kansas City, Missouri area Independent School District Tech Director, and have 5 amazing kids and a beautiful wife, and just lucky and blessed that she supports me to let me travel to get to see these great guys in person, and other great educators as well.
So we have to change the peanut gallery to actual gallery.
Yes.
It's a little
may actually
unnerving.
get something thrown at us.
It's a little unnerving. Yeah.
If you want to connect with the show because you're not able to sit in our audience, in live studio audience, you can always tweet at us at Dads and Ed. Use the hashtag Dads and Ed. We are on the Edu Podcast Network again. You can find us there or dadsanded.podbean.com. Subscribe at iTunes and Google Play. So we are here at ITEC. We have 3 sessions, 2 today. We have not done a session yet, so 2 today, 1 tomorrow. We're going to talk about, we're actually bringing the show a little bit into what we did at ITEC. Because we were talking, or what we do, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, that's what you meant to
Okay.
say.
So our first session is on the water cooler this afternoon at 1:20, I think it is, where we're going to talk about the events that are going on, just like we do during the beginning of the show, and talk a lot, obviously, bring the part in about how school and parenting works with those two. This afternoon at 3 o'clock, we have Parenting in 2016, which is obviously something we discuss a whole lot. Talk a little bit more about how technology goes with that, because that's a lot of our jobs, not to mention the parenting. Tomorrow is on being a connected educator, which is how the 3 of us met.
Yep.
It's how we met many of our guests, so that's obviously something that is near and dear to us. So thoughts on the sessions that we're doing before we get to what everyone else is doing?
And I think the hard part for those sessions, we really want to learn more what people think, right?
Yeah.
I think the reason we started doing this was because we do think that intersection between parenting and being educators is sometimes tough, sometimes challenging, sometimes really, really interesting. But there is something to be said for people who are educators, who also have kids, who are trying to manage that. And so I'm excited to have that conversation with people here at ITEC. I love having it when we have folks online and we have our guests on, but I think it'll be fun to do it in a live, kind of take that to a conference style where we're sitting with people and having that conversation.
Absolutely, and I have to say though, I'm kind of taken back by all this like equipment because we haven't had any technical failures yet. Or background issues or sounds. So this is a little unlike us that it's this clean.
It is really early.
I noticed that the podcast setup guy, Lance Lennon, is back eating some phenomenal Parmesan chips.
Yeah.
So maybe he's got something cooked up his sleeve once he gets done with his chips.
He might. Those chips are delicious.
I hear the chips are the reason to run for the ITEC board.
It's the only reason I'm on the board. It's for the chips.
Wonderful. Well, one of the things we wanted to touch base about is we just got done with the first keynote speaker, George Kuros. George's brother Alec has been on the show. George didn't actually qualify for the show until just a few weeks ago, where his daughter was born. He shared her a little bit during his keynote. But wanted to get kind of your guys' take on the keynote. I think all three of us saw him a couple months ago, or
Yeah.
a year and a half ago now, at NIDA. He was there. I was glad, because one of the things you kind of run to do with speakers is they do the same keynote. This wasn't the same keynote. Well, it's the same message, but he's had a book that came out, and the elements that he shared are still things that we deal with in education, but I thought he did a great job. And one of the things that we heard at the NIDA board was that he'll make you laugh, he'll make you cry, all the great things in keynote, and I think he did the same thing today. So.
And George is great at that. And I would say I saw George a number of years ago at a symposium in Chicago, and even just his style, the way he presents, is so much different now than it was even 3 years ago. But one of the things I was thinking about as we watched that keynote, listened to George, is I get a little bit frustrated with going to conferences and listening to speakers as good as they are. And I love George, and there are other speakers that I love to go and listen to, and I feel empowered and inspired to go back and do things. But you hear kind of the same message, but it seems like nothing really changes, right? So we all work in schools, we have kids who are going through schools, and so all these things we hear from speakers like George, I think we agree with. Like, we want kids doing better things. We want kids being empowered, not just engaged, as George talked about this morning. But it doesn't seem like there's any real systemic change happening in any real way. And that worries me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like this is that area where you come and you hear that, and then the people that are here kind of agree and they like it and they go with it, and then they leave here, and whether they're teachers or principals or superintendents, it's just like, yeah, let's do it. And then you get back to school and it's hard. It's hard to make that change.
Right. And I know one of the things that always sticks out with his message for me is the three things that students should have before they leave high school. The idea of a professional social network, a digital portfolio, and an About Me page, in essence of, something online. And so we were discussing that as we were walking up here, like, what does that look like for kids? And I was visiting with Bob about how are we bringing that to our students as the educators, when we walk away from this, basically what you were saying as well.
We've never done this for the live audience before, so what are some things that you guys took away from the keynote this morning?
I think the biggest thing for me was the principles and social experience.
Yeah, he brought up Christopher. Christopher's here in the audience. One of the things that George mentioned is that teachers always have boxes for their cell phones, where you gotta put your cell phone in here, you gotta put your cell phone in here, you gotta take it to the principal's office. But when teachers see a kid stab someone else with a pencil, they take it away for like 5 minutes and then give it back because they see it as an essential learning tool. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'd say the issue of making sure that you've got the needs and plans being planned.
Yeah.
Take away some of the educational freedoms to explore. Don't sacrifice that freedom just for the sake of making sure they're being compliant with everything that they're doing.
Yeah, one of the things that he talked about,
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think the interesting thing there too is just this idea with parents. So as we get in our schools, kind of 1-to-1 gets lower and lower in grades. So in our schools it goes down to second grade, right? So second graders are 7. And we want to encourage them to utilize those tools. We want to give them opportunities to create things and share and connect. But what about those parents who don't think that's a good idea? Like, what about those parents who aren't in favor of that? Like, in this setting, 99% of the people that are here at this conference agree about those things. But what about those handfuls of parents that you have that, I don't feel comfortable with my kid sharing things online. I don't feel comfortable with my kid having access to an email account, or I don't feel comfortable with my kids being able to go out and search and Google and find things like that. I'm not saying that parents is right or wrong, but what about those parents? I think we get into this space where we think that's the right thing, but it's not the right thing for this family, right?
Well, I think just as you have teachers that teach differently, kids that learn differently, parents parent differently.
Yeah.
And how do we, really embrace those and utilize them? And if I could do that, I would be a millionaire.
There's our book. And we could be fancy like George. You see the line of people waiting for George's autograph?
It was huge.
Yeah.
He's good. He's awesome. Kudos to George. He does a great job. Brings an awesome message. All right, so I want to jump, Josh, if I may, to our guest. We have a live guest with us that has been on the show before.
First time we have someone who is. This is our first live show together. Our first live show with a live audience. The first time we have the guest coming back.
Very ironic. And this guy hails from the St. Louis, Missouri side of the great state of Missouri. I hail from the KC side at the moment. So there's issues there. We'll just state that quickly. So you notice there's a distance between us.
Today?
Well, I'm just saying, there's a little distance. But Bob Dylan, Dr. Robert Dylan is in the house at IdeaGuy42 on the Twitter. If you're not following him, you need to be. Well, Bob, welcome to the show.
Can we adjust mics a little bit?
I'm not sure what we can do.
We've got him
I'm okay hidden behind the mics here. It's okay. So it's nice to be back. It's actually just nice to.
It's been 57 episodes since we had you back.
That is crazy. Yeah, I actually listened. I wanted to get warmed up, and so I listened to the Philip Cummings episode recently on the way up here, and it's just nice to actually be live with you guys.
Any takeaways from George's keynote yourself that stuck out today? Because I know you and I have heard him a lot.
Yeah, I think Devin and I were talking a little bit about how sometimes you go to presenters to hear the message, and sometimes you go to learn how to be a better presenter. And oftentimes I catch myself in that. And just the way that he's able to transition between stories, link things together, the repetition that he uses. A lot of those things are just little tricks that I like to pick up on as I present. And so, really good. And the sincerity is there. I think that I had a moment where he was telling a story about his family. And I really do think there's something about having persevered at some level as a family, as part of who you are, to make you really, really deeply have this urgency around the work that we're doing. And so I try to hire those people, and I think that's part of all of our stories. So.
And that's really what Dad's and Ed has kind of been morphed out of, is this idea of that intersection between being a parent and an educator. And so the over-under on George was 3 times that he mentioned his daughter. And there's unofficial reports of 3.5 because we kind of had a halfie in there, and so I went for under, actually. I thought, because he always does such an amazing job of his family and the other aspects of making it real. And so...
Too soon for the daughter is what you're thinking.
Well, I'm teasing here because he'll never listen to this. So it's like the one time I can actually throw him under the bus a little bit.
We can say whatever we want.
So, just saying.
Yeah, I thought there'd be a lot more baby pictures.
Yeah.
So, and no Paige. No. That happened again.
But interestingly enough, last night in the hotel lobby visiting with him, he's in a pickle now because he's got a beautiful baby daughter and he travels a lot, and so he's away a lot, and that I've dealt with that myself. Just even coming to this conference, or the Ed Camp Summit in KC. Like, I had to pick and choose some of those things so that I'm not away from my family all the time. Well, as much as I love you guys, I love them a little more.
We talked a lot about how hard it is for that balance when you're home, the work-life balance. And now, when that work is farther away, that makes the balance more difficult. So he did talk a lot about, like the FaceTime aspect of it, and the biggest part of his day is getting some of those messages. And that's the good that it is technology, being able to see them and talk with them. And I've done it too. I've been gone for essentially a week now, and see my kids more in FaceTime in the last week than I have face-to-face. That'll change soon, which is great.
Well, and I think George said something that resonated with me too, when he talked about school being good enough, and it will never be good enough for his daughter. right? So how much that changes when you have kids. You know, I can think about teaching before I had kids, and we've talked about this a lot. But I think this is a good place to bring it up as we kind of share a little bit about what our podcast is. But the idea of school changes a whole heck of a lot once you have your own one of those, or two of those, or five of those that are going to go to school, and whether or not it will ever be.
I missed that one.
Yeah, sorry. I caught it a little late as well.
Devin slid
well
that
done.
knock on Brent.
Yeah.
Starting 5.
I thought that was well done, but yeah. So I mean that idea that, boy, it gets a lot tougher when your kids are going to be there.
Yeah.
Right? And I know we're talking about it in the parenting session this afternoon a little bit, but you know, at what point do you go as an educator? Go to that teacher, go to that school, you know, concerned about what's happening in classrooms, you know, especially when you work in the same district that your kids go to. I mean, that just puts you in sometimes an awkward spot and sometimes an unwinnable, like you
Yeah.
I don't know how you make that change.
Let me go to Bob here, because I know Bob, and I've had that conversation, and I know you've struggled with that, Bob, at times, and have elected to do some things if you're willing to share.
Yeah, when my daughter was in 3rd grade, she's in 6th grade now. She did not take the state test, and she had a lot of test anxiety. And I knew that it was the right thing for her, but I live in that community. I worked with all those people, and I had to go in and say she's not doing it. And it became very confrontational. Went from 2 friends in a room to very litigious, where I was getting letters and having to sign letters to say that I recognize that this happened. She has taken the test the last couple of years by her choice. She knows every March if she doesn't want to take it, she doesn't have to. And that's been hard. And so that piece, and I don't like going to parent-teacher conferences. All these things at schools that are like traditional things that I know aren't best practice. And I know we all struggle with that. I know we talk on Voxer and everywhere else about like, man, homework and all these other things where we know and we struggle, and where do you step in, where do you just let it be?
Right.
Devin, I want to pull you into this with the conversations we've had recently about, you know, your daughter wanting to do well on tests, and yet you and your wife have shared with her from really day one that that's not where you're worried and focused about what she's doing, right? You're not saying, honey, you got to nail this test. Like you're saying do your best, but it's not the be-all.
No, I think, you know, it's been very clear to our kids, from my wife and myself, that we really don't care what your grades are, what your scores are. We want you to do the best. We want you to enjoy school. We want you to build really great relationships. We want you to participate in things that are meaningful. But she really is, and she's our oldest. She's 12, 7th grade. She cares what her grades are deeply. She was going to do every bit of homework. She wants every A. She wants to do well on state tests. Every time she does the SRI, she wants it to go up and up and up, and she wants to make sure and share that. And she had a moment a couple of weeks ago where she had some math work and she missed a question or something. And she missed 2 questions. It was an online program. She had missed 2 questions. It means she got an 80%, and that was going to affect her grade. And I told her, and this is where it really hit me right after this. You know, I told her, I said, I don't care what your grades are. And the way she looked at me and the way she said kind of, but I do, made me step back and say, okay, you know, even though I really don't value that part of it. And neither does my wife. Like, we doesn't, but she does.
Right.
And so how do you then balance that, right? I mean, that's happened at school. School has done that.
Well, and it's funny because we were just talking before the show about one of the things that George is keynote about. How do we get supportive of our kids for doing these great projects? So one of the things that George shared was a girl who had created a blog and raised 82,000 pounds in financial money for
In another country.
Other people use
Pounds, you know.
Josh is now using pounds.
Right.
It's really awkward in
I
the middle
recently
of
lost some
Nebraska, the
pounds.
Midwest.
He's not
You
saying
know.
aluminum.
I don't run as much as Bob does, but I've lost some pounds.
At any rate, back to the original story.
Yes.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Organization.
So this lady does this great thing, and school doesn't help out with that. And one of the things that I tweeted and Brett and I were talking about was, how do we support our kids when they want to do that kind of stuff without it being our own?
Yeah.
But then I wonder, so Gracie says, well, I want to do good on this test. We have to be supportive of our kids then too, don't we?
Right. Yeah, and that was the struggle. Like, that's what made me kind of pause and step back a little bit. Like, okay, I've got to stop saying that. Like, you know what I mean? Or do I? Like that's where I'm really struggling right now.
Or
Do
do
I
you
step?
convince her that this isn't the most important thing?
Yeah, and I think she knows that, right? I mean, she went with me a couple of years ago to the ISLI event at Waukee, where it's the student-led conference.
Iowa Student Leadership Institute.
That's it. And she thought it was phenomenal, and she agrees with all that. Like, she hates it when she has to go to class and do silly things that don't matter.
Yeah.
But she is not making the distinction between silly things that don't matter and tests and SRI and all these things that they have to do as assessment measures to put on the data wall. She can't make that, nor should I expect her as a 12-year-old maybe to be able to make that distinction. But she does. She doesn't buy into that stuff, but she is all about those grades.
And sometimes just letting them know we're struggling with it.
Yeah.
Right? And just being, she gets it. She's a smart girl, right? Like she would get like, hey, I'm struggling with what to say to you about this.
Yeah.
And so we're having another moment with our daughter's a gymnast. You've seen those pictures, and there's 2 nights a week where homework just can't get done. And we had to every year go and say, hey, either reduce, remove, reschedule. That's my 3 new things for homework. Yes, and the teachers have been pretty supportive about it. And so, but my daughter says, but I want to get it done.
Right.
And so the teachers want to help, we want to help, and she keeps the stress on herself. And so we're not sure what to do either.
It's just the system. It's so difficult because I feel like the system does that, to them. Let me share a quick story about my daughter that I screwed up recently as a parent. So she's a first grader, spelling test now. Every Monday we get the words, Friday spelling test. She gets 100% on the first one of the year. So I'm proud. I'm like, great job, honey. Like, hey, you know what? If you get another 100%, next week, Daddy will take you to Target and we'll buy something, Screwed up. Right there. You guys are knowing this, that, Devin has got older girls. So I screwed this up because then, of course, the next week she gets a 90% and misses one. And so my wife is texting me saying on the ride home that she's a train wreck. She's crying and bawling because she thinks I'm going to be so disappointed in her. Mm-hmm. And now Daddy's not going to take me to Target. So maybe you know where I'm going with this story. But basically when I got home, I said, hey, it's okay, you did your best, and we're going to Target anyway, because I screwed that whole piece up. But so I will not be like throwing that out there. But so I'm torn by like wanting her to do well, just as a student and not struggle, but not put emphasis on that crap because it doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, I want her to be a good citizen, digital citizen. I'll throw in there just for sake of technology, but like I just want her to be a good person. And I don't think that test or an ACT down the road is going to merit her, right, or be a be-all for her.
But we're going to go ahead and have pep rallies for state testing.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
So, Bob, we mentioned you're here at ITEC, and one of the things that we get the honor of doing is introducing you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Oh, you should.
We
I've
use
seen
the
the
word
slides.
honor loosely.
Yeah.
Yours probably won't be the worst one that we do. Worst, I guess.
Introduction, you mean?
Yeah, introduction.
Yeah.
I didn't mean his was the worst.
Because it's going to be much easier to be mean to Pernille.
Yes.
Right, because that,
yeah,
right, yeah. Yeah.
No, it's going to be easier to be mean to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So tomorrow morning, one of the things that's not really a session, but they're having Ignite sessions tomorrow morning with Bob's going to be there, Pernille Rip, who is a fantastic teacher from Wisconsin, Chad Kafka, who is tech director, technology integration.
Technology integration, I think.
Okay,
so.
up in Wisconsin as well.
Yep.
A fourth undetermined one,
Right.
because we had a little scheduling unfortunate thing.
Yep.
So.
And a student. We have a student from Iowa Big who will also be giving an Ignite tomorrow morning, which I'm really excited about.
Explain what Iowa Big is.
So Iowa Big is a school, kind of a school within a school, I guess for lack of a better way of saying it, that really allows kids to take on authentic kinds of tasks, projects, where they solve problems. They are working directly with community members, working in a different space. They're outside of their school. Really cool kind of thing. So
In Cedar Rapids.
in
right?
Cedar Rapids, yeah. So we'll have a student from there who will come and talk about a little bit about that process and how it's different from normal school. So I'm really excited to have a student involved in that. So it's not just the adults up there talking. It's going to be great to have a student, but yeah, it's going to be an amazing morning. We're going to get some really inspiring and fun talks from I think all four for sure. I think we'll have a fifth. Maybe it'll be a surprise game time decision on the last speaker. But
Theo Epstein, I think.
Yeah, we might be able to get Theo. I will not
he's
allow him
available.
on stage.
He'll be done after tonight, right?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That was a low blow by Bob. But,
Bob, you want to give us a preview of yours tomorrow?
I'm actually going to apologize. And so, yeah, I know. It's in a day and age where that's hard for people to do publicly. I think I'm going to apologize for the fact that early on, I think my education career, I wasn't the person I should have been to adults and kids. And so I think it's going to, I don't know, it's something I'm totally different, never tried this before.
Awesome.
And then talk about some things I'll never be sorry for at the same time. So
Very cool.
we'll see how it goes.
I've seen the slides,
That's
so
what I was
that's
gonna say.
interesting to hear that little tidbit
Yep.
and how you're going to apply those to your slides. It'll be really cool.
I was going to
I
say,
look
we've been
forward to it.
privileged to kind of see the slides of everybody so far, and they are going to be great talks. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And our role in that as MC is kind of think of it this way. This is how I'm thinking of it. Is
Okay. What are we thinking, Devin?
I do the
Hold on,
thinking.
Devin's
I
gonna
do
tell
the
us what
thinking.
we're going to be thinking.
I do the thinking.
Wait for it.
Yes. We get to MC, obviously, which is the easy part, move from speaker to speaker, right? We get to bring what we do, our show, to that stage to have a little bit of banter and to talk a little bit and to share some of these things about being educators and being parents as well. But the third part of that I'm most looking forward to is I really see it as, you think about the Oscars or the Grammys or something where the host gets to come out and kind of give a monologue, and they get to maybe call some people out that they know and create some jokes. That's the part I might be most excited about. There are people, Shaylin's sitting there. She, as a former guest of the show, fair game.
Yeah.
Like there may be something in that opening monologue or the session, as we get between speakers. We might have something about Shaylin. Lance over there, he's a former guest. There might be something about Lance in there. So I'm really looking forward to being the Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Bobby. Sorry.
Ricky
I didn't
Bobby.
know what Ricky. Yeah. So Shaylin thought he was going to say Ricky Bobby.
Which
I
is
didn't
probably
actually
more.
know.
Which is probably more like it, but whatever. I like having the peanut gallery.
It is kind of interesting, yeah.
We might have to contact like a sports bar or something like that to get us.
Let's start doing this.
Yeah.
It would
Maybe
be kinda
they'll
cool.
buy
Maybe
us-
like in Mountain City, like that's halfway in between everybody.
Yeah. Maybe they'll buy us
There's
like
a
fancy equipment like
there's a
this.
McDonald's, the Subway, I think.
There's like a
The
Bredo
Subway
pizza.
in the gas station. I love Bredo pizza.
I do too. We could be the Dad's Ad brought to you by Bredo Pizza.
Yeah, we'll take the show.
Okay, done.
Today's guest, Dr. Dillon, is brought to you by Bredo, the unofficial pizza of the Dad's Ed podcast.
Although I don't think there's
So
one in our
cheesy
area.
bread.
So French, but so far away.
All right, let's stop talking about education. Let's talk about sports.
Yes.
You can
It's
bring it
the,
up.
It's the playoffs. So let's see. Half of us have a team that are actually still in made it to the playoffs,
That
Made it to the
hurts.
playoffs. And still in.
and still in.
That hurts.
That'd be Devin and I.
Ouch.
That's true.
I have, and see, here's the thing. So we've been doing the show for what, 3.5 years, almost 4 years.
Long
now.
time. It feels like a long
I
time.
have never had this opportunity to talk about how my team is in the playoffs,
Good.
Point.
and we actually have a chance to win this series. I don't know about the whole thing. We're a little short on starting pitching right now. This is pretty fantastic.
So Josh is a Cleveland Indians fan. Right?
That is
For
cold
everybody who's not.
earlier.
Am
Yeah.
I jacked? Yeah, I should have worn that.
He got hot, so he took it off.
The Indians, so the interesting thing, I mean, I think it's one of those teams that nobody really talked about. Like,
They still don't.
get to
Who
the
are they?
playoffs,
I
it's
don't
like
really
the
know those
Indians?
guys.
If you look at either Jason Stark or Buster Olney did their predictions, they went throughout all these teams could win. The Cleveland Indians weren't even mentioned in the article.
Like, I don't even think they knew they were in the playoffs. I
They're
think
up
the Indians
2-0
may have
on
been
the Red Sox. I
packing
think
up
they
their stuff, and
understand.
the manager's like, Franco's like, whoa, we've got a game tomorrow.
What's your
Like, you
series?
serious?
Is your series?
So here's the deal. Well, don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. The thing I think is great about Cleveland, if the Indians happen to win the World Series, Can you imagine what will happen in Cleveland, having gone so long without any championship and then getting the Cavaliers and the Indians in 1 year?
As a LeBron James fan, who's kind of filled my void since Michael Jordan retired, I think that would be pretty awesome. And I saw he was at the game the other day, revving up the crowd, and it made May.
Back to the land, baby.
Oh.
And the Giants, so I'm a Giants fan, play the Cubs tonight. Got to win 3 in a row, which they've barely done all
So we
year.
got to do World Series predictions.
So I could
Okay.
tell you guys a story about being down 3-1. So now I can get another nostalgic, right? 1996, the Cardinals went up 3-1 on the Braves, and I said,
That's a long time.
right? I said, hey, you know what? 20 years ago, we were still in the playoffs then. Cardinals are just so
yeah.
used to it.
Yeah,
They were down, and I said 3-1. I was at that game 4, and I said, I think we got this. And someone said, yeah, but you know who you see the next 2 nights was Maddox, Clavin, and Smoltz.
right.
We lost 4-3 in that series,
Yeah.
so
Hey, and that's the
it's
one
not
thing-
done.
That's the
It's
one
not
thing
done.
with the Giants. So we'll have Bumgarner going tonight. Cueto, who's been great all year and pitched a great game in Game 1, just had no support. Right, you got those two at least one more time if Bumgarner can win tonight. So I have not given up hope by any means that the Giants could meet the Indians in the playoffs and then for
wouldn't
the
that be
World
fun?
Series. So it could be another time where my team was able to play somebody else's favorite team in the World Series. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's more fun because my team won.
Every other year. That's an amazing thing they got going there. So
really do.
it would be pretty cool if they did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So who we got? I mean, you going with the Giants? You have to, right? If
I
you
kind of
did-
do have to, but I would say if I wasn't,
I mean, who do we
if I
play? Who do
wasn't
you
going
play?
with the Dodgers or with the Giants, I'd probably go with the Cubs.
So you got
I'll go with the Cubs only because I feel like I should pick another team other than mine. I think the Giants still have a really good shot of getting there.
who are they
Uh,
playing against?
The
No,
they
I'm
will
saying
play
in the
against-
World Series.
I think they're going to play the Blue Jays.
All right. And so who do you got, Josh?
I actually would agree that I think it's going to be the Blue Jays. I think they're on a tear right now. Cleveland is missing their 4th and 5th pitcher, and it's hard to go through a 7-game series with 3 pitchers.
Yes.
We got lucky that there was a rain delay yesterday with the Red Sox and Indians, so Chris Tomlin's still pitching today, which I think will be fine. But when you grind it out, I mean, the Blue Jays look incredible right now.
I agree.
They destroyed the AL, the best team in the AL record-wise.
Yes.
And who do I think they'll face? I can't buy the Cubs.
Really?
I get that they won 100 games or whatever, best record by far. I think it's whoever beats the Cubs, or I think it's Washington and LA.
Oh, okay.
One of those two. Whoever wins that series, I think beats the Cubs and it goes on.
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jays win it all.
Yeah, I like the Nationals. Actually, no one's talked about them most of the year. 90-plus wins, great starting pitching, and solid lineup. A lot of veterans in that lineup too for the Nationals. So
I agree. I've talked to a couple people about this. I think it was Jason Stark did an article like debunking the October myths. And so the team who's the hottest is the one who always wins. Well, then he provides, no, that's not the case. The
That's
team
a
with the
great
best
article.
record is like
That's a
3
great
out of the
case.
last 20 years. The best
Yeah.
record has won the World Series. So it's so hard to predict. I mean, because last night, for example, so it's the Blue Jays and Rangers are 6-6 in the 10th inning. They go to turn a double play, and the first baseman drops the ball. It was a bad throw from O'Gore, but drops the ball, and then his throwing is so slow that he can't. Donaldson beats him to home plate. Like that small of a thing. And I think Brett and I were talking about this morning. Like, what if you just hold it at second? You got first and third, and you still got 2 outs.
Yeah.
But you're trained to turn the double play, and that's the end of your season.
Yeah.
You're done on that play for
You're thinking about
6
that
more
one for
months.
months.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
like it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the playoffs go.
And I would say just to bring kind of all this kind of back together, the reason we do this podcast is to talk about all these different issues. And as we're talking sports, and Bob mentioned earlier, kind of some Voxer groups you're part of, that you have some of these conversations about like, oh, my kids are in school, what do I do? one of the sessions we're doing is all about being connected, right? About connected educator, and I think that George mentioned it quite a bit this morning too. About you kind of have to be intentional about not doing it at this point. It's kind of your fault. Like there are so many things. I tell a story about Bob a lot when I give presentations about being connected. I was certainly the person who would come to a conference like this for years. I would come in and go through the conference and I would attend sessions, but I wouldn't really talk to anybody. I wasn't hanging out with anybody. I'd go back to my hotel room at night and blog or do something, but I was kind of doing it on my own. And this idea that what these connected spaces have done for me is they've fostered relationships with people that I would have never had, right? And so the story about Bob coming, we went out to the conference out in Kearney, Nita's fall conference. Bob coming in, and we had met one time for a few minutes. He's like, hey, and we'd met online and all this stuff. I'm going to be out there. Do you want to drive out? And so when I tell people that, yeah, I drove out to Kearney with somebody I didn't know, stayed in a hotel room with somebody I didn't know, hung out with for people I didn't know. Now I come to these kinds of events, and I not only have you guys, but all these people that I kind of know and have been fostered on here, whether it's Twitter or somewhere else. And Voxer has become that place for me now too. We have, Bob mentioned this kind of sports group that we have, and it's called Sports Vox Radio, but it's really just a bunch of guys in there talking about all these things that matter to us. So there's a lot of sports, but there's a lot of parenting, there's a lot of education, there's a lot of professional questions where I maybe don't have those people in my immediate, sitting next to me all the time, but I feel like I've got about 15 people in that group I could go to for just about anything, and it's going to have this kind of meaningful, purposeful connection. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us feel lonely. I think dads in ed, oftentimes, as many people we're surrounded by, you can be as connected as you want, but I still think there's some sense of loneliness in our work, and not having that connection would be really, really hard for me. So sometimes I fear loneliness more than I do anything else in this profession.
And I tweeted that picture of the three of us in Cornell this morning, and that's for me really about the coming to these events is about getting to see you guys face to face, because we do interact on all these tools, but it's nice to be able to catch up face to face for sure.
So if you are here at ITEC, we would love to have you come to our sessions again this afternoon at 1:20 and 3. Tomorrow, Connected Educator at 11:15. And I think, the conferences is about meeting the new people. Yeah. And hopefully we can have some of those conversations and start that relationship the next couple days. So.
And we should thank our peanut gallery.
Absolutely.
For being here. Any final thoughts from anybody out there?
I think also Washington
Blue Jays.
Anyone else?
Any other baseball fans?
White Sox fans. So.
Sorry.
Oh, so you didn't realize baseball is still going on? You thought?
I know baseball.
Guaranteed rate field. We can't wait.
It's an AL Central joke.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the Cubs and the Red Sox. I thought that.
Cubs and the Red Sox. The Theo series.
Yeah.
Still.
Oh.
He almost said it. It could still happen.
Technically, yes, but.
Got to send out a shout out to the Lance Lennon and the GAF admin podcast. It'll be podcasting live later as well with this amazing equipment. And we didn't have a single technical difficulty.
We didn't.
So, unlike the first show when Bob was live in some hotel in San Francisco, in fact.
I didn't think
we joked about that a couple of weeks ago, because the first one you were in like San Francisco, and that didn't work out.
It was wandering San Francisco, right? You weren't even like a hotel. You were trying to do it wandering the city.
Yeah, it was bad. I don't think I understood the whole podcasting concept at that point in time. But I hear it's getting big, this podcast thing.
Yeah. Some people aren't past it yet.
Right.
One thing I do want to say, here at ITEC, hashtag ITEC IA, the EdTech Takeout, Jonathan Wiley, who's been on the show, and Mindy Carney. They'll be podcasting from ITEC this afternoon at 3. Lance and his crew with the GAF admins. Tomorrow at this time, they'll be up there. And this is what I think is really going to be interesting. Tomorrow afternoon, they have 2 student podcasts from Iowa City. Jonathan Rogers, who's the journalism guy there. Lit a Kid and Minority Report. And Jonathan does also the Jurid Cat Jerd Chat, sorry about that, podcast. So they're going to be doing theirs live, and I know they're going to talk about just the art of podcasting too. Like that's one of the things I really like talking with Jonathan and Lance. Like, how do you do it? Like, I love processes and how to and that kind of stuff. So.
Well, and I think that's the thing with podcasting. It's one of those things where it seemed like it was popular for a while, and then it kind of went away, and it feels like it's coming back. And what a great thing to do with kids, right? And I think if there's one thing we're an example of, it's that you don't have to have a lot of fancy equipment.
No.
You don't have to have a whole lot of editing that's happening on your computer.
Right.
I mean, it really can be as simple as get some people together around a computer and talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing that makes it maybe a podcast versus just an audio recording is that it's episodical in some way, right? It's happening at some regular interval. And so I think that's really important. We don't do, oh my God, this feels weird.
We're being podcasted.
And right in the middle of me saying,
We're getting podcast.
Wow.
3 board members, Goose Chase. 3 board members, Goose Chase.
Nice.
If you're at ITEC, if you haven't downloaded Goose Chase, if you're not participating in the scavenger hunt, you need to do so because apparently you can just interrupt people when they're doing things, and that's okay.
I'm glad that some people like Goose Chase, and it fits some people's
Yeah, I
learning
saw that.
style.
All right, look at that. He did it silently. Is one of the things on the Goose Chase to take your picture with the podcast? Probably not.
Missed it.
Jeez.
You can actually change them tonight, though.
And Mindy is a podcaster.
Can we change it right now?
I don't
Yeah.
know. But I that's one of the things that I've seen our teachers embrace too, is just the option of recording audio.
Yeah.
For student learning.
Right.
Like it's not that hard to do. You talked to me. We're still using it. Vocaroo.com. It's super simple. Just to get students to talk out loud and share what they're learning. Just another way to do it.
Because I have a hard time with, back to another thing George mentioned today. He must have done a good job. We've mentioned George a few times.
He's
That idea
decent.
that he did it with something with science. It's not that they don't understand science. It's that they don't want to write about it. So why don't we give kids a chance to talk about things, create things, make something that isn't always a piece of writing. Like that part frustrates me. And I think this is a really good example.
Yep.
Right? We don't do a ton of editing. We don't have a lot of fancy equipment, but we do get together and we get to talk to really great people like Bob, and we just get to kind of chat and talk through some things. Like I always feel better when I'm done. Like okay, I'm either glad that we're kind of on the same page, or no, I'm thinking differently now because it's something that has come up in our conversation, and that doesn't happen if people don't have an opportunity to do it. So.
I do have to say, when I came over to hook up, Lance goes, "You do this on a Chromebook?" Yeah. Is it a requirement to use a Mac? Like, I'd love to.
But
Yeah, do it on a Chromebook.
you don't have
Do
fancy
you not plug
microphones.
a USB?
What are you talking about? I'm just sitting in front of my computer talking. That's just what I'm doing. Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to wrap up because it's about lunchtime and
It is.
we got things to do. Any last words before we take off?
Well, I'm sitting next to Devin, and I noticed he had his tweet deck up earlier, and I noticed that there's a book. Can you pull that up real quick? Let's go here.
Go for it.
You can't see this if you're not. Oh, but
Can't see. This
there's
is
a
good
direct
radio.
message there. Direct message that says, "Hey, whatever happened to the video that I participated in, and Shaylin did as well, crowdsourcing."
You guys did. Yeah.
About being
It was
connected,
great.
because he claimed he was get it out to us.
I will.
That was like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I know. I
that
thought
I asked
about
that question.
Like, I haven't
I got
responded
answer.
to Brent yet.
At least he knew he'd see you.
Yeah.
But you guys were
Yeah.
all 4 of you were in it.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. It just yeah.
So I'd like to share it.
I will send it out today.
Yes. Fabulous.
Yeah, you're in it.
It was from like 2 months ago.
Yeah, you're too.
Some of them tweeted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here come the lunch crowd.
All right.
Lunch
All
crowd.
We better go make sure that we get lunch.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Yeah,
for joining
thanks for
us.
being with us, Bob.
And be sure to check out the hashtag dadsined and also here at ITEC IA. Have a great day.
Thanks.